Guys, good Monday morning. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk with Keith Smith here on the I Love CVille Network. Thank you kindly for joining us, guys. We are live in Charlottesville across Albemarle County, the Commonwealth, the country, the world today. We're presented by Yes Realty Partners, Keller Williams Alliance, and just a fantastic group of trusted advisors in real estate. We'll highlight Ally Property Management and Suzanne Reel, who's watching right now. Suzanne, we love you. American Pest, Charlottesville Settlement Company, Closure Title, Fincham and Associates, Free Enterprise Forum, Intrastate Service Company, Pearl Certification, Sigora Solar, Stanley Martin, and Ross Mortgage today. So much we're going to cover, guys. Our friend Josh White in the house, the associate broker and sales partner at Story House, kind enough to join us on his birthday.
Happy birthday, Josh.
Thank you, guys.
Three-shot studio camera. Let's embarrass the man a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
It's not hard to do. Some days it just depends. Yeah.
I'm
Thank
pretty
you guys
sure
for
it's
having
impossible
me.
to embarrass you.
It is.
Can we ask you how old?
Sure. Yeah, I have no problem disclosing that. It's 37 this year. So, yeah. So 37 years young.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you have 3 kids?
3 kids, yeah. We have a 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 3-month-old. So we're busy and trying to do real estate in the middle of all of that too. So
We need to talk about how you actually do that.
yeah, it's a balancing act. I've got a beautiful wife. I married out of my league, as they say.
Outkicked your coverage?
Yeah, that's exactly
There's
right.
not a single gentleman at this table that has not done that.
Right.
It's very true.
Yeah. So no, we're super blessed and been a lot of fun. So
What's the White family do for the patriarch's 37th birthday?
So we went to Short Pump yesterday, did some shopping, ate at the Cheesecake Factory, introduced the kids to the Cheesecake Factory, and we had one fall in the pond at the Short Pump there, which is hilarious.
Success?
Got it on video. Yeah. So we've had a good time so far.
So I'm thinking cheesecake, lots of sugar. Did they go to bed at all last night?
Yeah.
Well, it's a school day.
Right, it's school day. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? They had to have been bouncing with all the sugar.
Yeah, so the girls share a room and they kind of do pillow talk back and forth, and it's pretty funny. We have to go in and shut it down sometimes.
So one of the great things about being a grandfather of a 3-year-old, you can kind of feed all that stuff and go, see you later.
Yeah, give it back.
That's right. Yeah, we can send them back.
So do you still rock the, we're parents, my wife and I, parents of a 4.5-year-old almost. Do you still rock the baby monitor with the kids?
So yeah, so our little guy, we haven't, not with the bigger two, but with the little guy, he's still in our room, like in a little cradle. So we haven't gotten quite to that point, but my wife has the camera set up for the cell phone and, it's over the top. So,
Oh my gosh, that sounds like our house, Keith Smith.
Yeah.
You remember those days, or was that before your...
No. We had tablets, stone tablets.
No baby cameras?
No. This was like in the 1800s.
Yeah.
It was like, do you hear anything? Yeah. I mean, the real thing was when you were the firstborns, right? When they stopped crying, then you woke up in the middle of the night and went, oh my God, something is wrong.
Right, yeah.
I said this the other day, I think I said it to Jerry, you should have children at the age of 60, because I can't sleep anyway. I was up at 2:30 in the morning, wide awake, was up for an hour or two before I took a nap and got back up again. So don't call me.
Yeah, right.
But it's weird because you wake up in the middle of the night, it's like, whoa, I could take care of a kid right now. Then go ahead and do this.
You can catch all the Gunsmoke reruns on there. Yeah.
I may or may not.
He loves Gunsmoke.
I may or may not.
He loves Gunsmoke.
I may or may not do that. I'm a huge TCM fan, so I watch anything that's black and white.
Josh just got some brownie points over there from Real Talk with the Gunsmoke reference. I love it.
So Josh, tell us about yourself. Tell us, the who, what, when, and where, and the excitement of Josh White and how you got into the real estate business.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so actually before I got into real estate, I was a teacher and a coach and taught middle school, and then we moved to Charlottesville and bought our house through Sasha Farmer and Sasha Farmer team at that time. And I'd always been interested in sales. My grandfather was a sales guy, kind of a mentor, and so I sat down with Sasha for coffee, and the rest is history, and that started in 2015. And so fast forward, full-time buyer's agent on the team and a broker. Got my broker's license last year and enjoyed it. Love working with people and with clients. So
I often mention this. I think what we do for a living is almost is equal to what one does as a teacher. Does it feel like that way to you? That what we really do isn't sell, but what we really do is educate. Does that sound about right?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, we're just teaching a process, to folks, and carrying them kind of through a journey. And I think it's the same with no matter what level of education you do, whether it's kindergarten or higher ed.
So what I wanted to talk about today with you is this kind of shift. The market is, instead of saying "oh snap," I'm calling it "oh shift,"
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
But as a buyer's agent, right? Because
Sure.
that's primarily what you've done.
Yeah.
That's been pretty hard for the last couple of years. So let's talk a little bit about the successes and some of the tools that you
Sure.
use to help buyers get
Yeah.
across the line.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think 2020, when COVID hit, a lot changed in the market. I mean, we had the craziest year I think that we had in real estate. 2019 was very crazy as well, but we had the spring market get pushed back, and really it has been nonstop since that point. For us, I think it's just thinking about a tool belt is what I always like to tell my clients. It's like, what tools do we need to take out of our tool belt to use as a strategy to try to get things going and get a conversation going with the listing agent. So, one of the tools that we use quite frequently is, and I think Keith, you and I have talked about this, is like trying to get as much information as we can from a buyer, from the listing agent as the buyer's agent on the property, because a lot of times we don't have the time to figure out all the different pieces of the puzzle like we would in markets past, where there's a lot of time, things are sitting on the market. You can sit down and have a glass of wine with your spouse in the evening and talk through the property. Now it's like, hey, you got to make a decision in 5 minutes on this property, because there's a deadline at noon today or something. So
I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, that's the reason I'm using the word shift, and I can't believe I'm actually going to say this. We've had a couple of listings that Yona and I put on that we only received 2 offers on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Only received
Right.
2 offers
Yeah.
on, right?
Friend of the program, Lee Elberson, was able to negotiate successfully closing costs. Let us know on Friday about that. Buyer closing costs. I mean, you haven't seen that in a while.
No, that's right.
So that's why we're focusing on shifting, because
Yeah.
it's happening, right? And we want to help folks, educate them, right?
Totally.
As an educator of where the market is going, and it's going back to some normalcy. I would call normalcy.
Yeah. And I would agree. I mean, so talking about closing costs, as we get further out into the more kind of rural markets, like I had one recently in Greene County where we were able to get list price and a home sale contingency in, which was unheard of, basically from September of last year forward for me.
Did that close successfully?
Yeah, closed
Good for you.
successfully last week. Yeah.
Good for you. Congratulations.
So, yeah. So I do think you're right. And actually over the weekend, another offer that had closing costs as part of it as well. So
on these couple of listings that we did, so Yona and I kind of focus a little bit more on buyers. I just like the excitement of negotiating and doing all that stuff. Yona's really good at the listing side of it. Not that I don't do listings on that, but I just tend to gravitate towards the buyer side of the buyer side of things. On the listing side, I never understood why either agents don't call me and say, hey, tell me how the showing went.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't seen that. Well, I'm starting to pick up a little bit. But also, as a buyer's agent, if I'm going to show Jerry's house, I'm always calling Jerry. Tell me about your buyer. So what kind of questions do you typically ask?
Yeah. As a buyer's agent, I would say a lot of times because we've been so busy with showings, like my assistant and I, for example, one Friday recently, because the inventory's been so low, we had 14 showings with 14 different buyers. So we split it in half, 7 showings and 7 showings. So it's like, at that point, I'm playing kind of catch up, trying to kind of go after the fact. But when we ask questions, I think one of the big things is, if we're not going to have a home inspection, what's the age of the roof? What's the age of the HVAC? So it's material questions about the property. Anything that you can get from those sorts of things, because we have been waiving those inspections or we've been doing them for informational purposes only. A lot of people want to know about the seller. Where are they going? What's the motivation of the seller? So if we can get any information on that, that's always helpful in the deal. Do they need a rent back? I know the rent back period. I know you guys have discussed that too.
Oh my goodness, did we ever, Keith?
How about them Mets?
Right? Yeah. And so, is that necessary for the seller? Is it going to make our offer more competitive?
I have to tell you, go back to that rent back, that's 60 days. And
Seller possession.
Seller possession. Yeah. I have to tell you, I don't know if it just might have been coincidental, but all of a sudden now I'm seeing a lot of 60 days in the listing agreements instead of 9 months or 6 months. I have no idea why, but it's just all of a sudden it seemed to have changed.
Right, yeah.
I have no idea why.
We'll give some props to Brittany watching the program, Orange County's finest. She says Josh is the man. Giving you some
Brittany-
props
Brittany's
right now.
awesome.
Brittany is awesome.
She's killing it.
Bill Hamrick giving him some props. You got multiple Joshes the mans on the feed right now.
Oh, nice.
Yona Smith wishing him a happy birthday. We love you, Yona. Amanda Burns giving you props. Mark Eichmann giving you props. How about increasing rates? How are they influencing your clients?
Yeah, great question. So definitely have had 2 clients where it's pushed them out of the running. So affordability is becoming, I mean, that's always a question here, but I would say, especially in the lower price points, I've had 2 clients that just will not be able to buy now, so they're pushed to the rental market, which also is hot.
Yeah, man, but how do you manage that, right? The rental markets are,
Yeah,
I think,
More expensive than mortgages.
totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it will continue even if we hit a recessionary period. The data is that it will continue to go up. Rents always go
Did he
up.
use the R word?
He did.
used
I
it.
mean,
I used it. Yeah.
I think everyone at this table
Yeah.
thinks, I don't want to, assume for you, but I know you and I think
Yeah.
that we're in recession now.
I think we're currently in a recession.
Yeah, in a recession now.
Yeah. And I, that's the way these things go. Is you never officially know about it until you can look back and say, oh, it started there. But when your gas is almost $5 a gallon, food is a little expensive.
Sure, yeah.
All the way across the board. For certain folks, you're in a recession. I know the Smiths. We're walking back some of our expenses,
Sure.
to get a little bit more balanced on what cash flow coming in versus what's going out.
Yeah.
But you got me off on a tangent. So
Oh
I'll let
no,
you
you're
finish.
fine. Well, I think the rates have also done the opposite. I was talking with another realtor friend of mine who does a lot of investors, and I think when things jump from 5.5 to now 6, or even the 4.5 to the 6, a lot of those guys were hitting the brakes. We saw a lot of them jump out of the market when COVID hit anyways, as far as the buy side. On the sell side, obviously, a lot of people cashing in. So I think it's done some stuff on the investment side, at least from what I've seen. But I think also on the first-time home buyers and folks who are moving up, we've seen it kind of be a catalyst to kind of push things. Like I know
Sure.
people are kind of also pushing themselves to maybe jump into a house, and this is something we talk a lot about, is that buyer's remorse question of, do we want to do this? Like, is this the best fit?
So we're starting to see, the shift when this happens, and it's in the process of happening right now. It happens fast. We've got 3.5 decades of doing this. I've seen it happen before. So this shift, this movement is happening. None of this is bad. None of this is pop. None of this is anything like that. It's just a more balanced
Sure.
market, which I think everybody at this table wants to
Absolutely.
wants to see. But you're starting to see what we were talking about prior to coming on air, that I'm starting to see some of the thinking and the acting, or not acting, it's the wrong choice of words, but the way reacting, that's a better choice of words, the way buyers are now reacting to the market. Are you seeing any of that out there?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think some buyers are putting the brakes on the prices. I mean, we're seeing things last through the weekend. We had one 2 weeks ago. I put an offer in. Well, actually, we waited to put an offer in because there wasn't as much activity as we thought there would be.
So what's the strategy behind that?
So the price was high. I mean, it was a high price on the front end, and it's kind of like you run the numbers, and a lot of times we're throwing the numbers out the window because they're not applicable. The market's going to sustain what the market will sustain. But we ran the numbers, and it was really high, and it was one of those things where it's like, okay, here's your 3 options. We can go ahead and pursue it. We can kind of wait and see what happens, or you can be super aggressive and try to go ahead and wrap it up. Like kind of do one of the 3, and always go through all those options. But we decided, let's just wait and see. They did a price reduction on Monday after the weekend, which was a pretty aggressive price reduction.
Yeah.
And then they still had a bidding war, but it was not at the original list price. So
Correct. So probably when you go take a look at the back
It
end.
was mispriced.
Yeah.
So we've been saying this for a long time, since before COVID. I'll say it all the time. No matter what market you're in, price always matters.
Right.
No matter.
The Monday morning price reduction?
Well,
Did that surprise you?
It was actually a little surprising after having, a year and a half of not seeing anything like that.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at 2 sets in front of me. I posted it on Facebook a month ago versus this. I do a week over week.
Sure.
Last 7 days, car footprint, Charlottesville Area Association
Yeah.
footprint. And I've now been tracking price changes. So a month ago, we had 28 in that same week period.
Sure.
20, we got 49 now.
Yep.
I'm not smart enough to figure out what the math difference is, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
More. That one's more.
One's more, one's less.
It's a Marine,
Yeah.
It's very simple. Got to go more, less.
Yeah.
But if you take a dive into that, other than the new construction, actually new construction is going up in certain, every one of them is this price reduction. And I was having this conversation with somebody over the weekend. We're in this little place in the market. I think
It's almost like purgatory.
the perfect
Yeah.
choice of words.
Yeah.
Really.
It is good, yeah.
Where the buyers and the sellers are starting to kind of adjust their thinking a little
Yeah.
bit. And some of these pricing that they had that we've reduced was probably based on what they thought the market was 30 days ago.
Totally. Well, a case in point, I think it's, we had a deal recently, we got it at list price, it was in the city, which getting it at list price was phenomenal. We were the only offer.
Upper 4s?
No, we're in the almost 6.
Okay.
And so we do home inspection. We have some repairs requests. Nothing crazy. Pretty standard.
So they accepted a normal home inspection?
Accepted a
Yeah.
normal home inspection. Clean the gutters. Give us a credit. Seller said, absolutely not. Like it is what it is. And I think that's just kind of exactly what you're talking about. The sellers still have this idea of like it's a very deep seller's market, which it still is. But it's starting to shift a little bit, and so the buyers are having a little bit more leverage. And so, we stayed in the deal because it was still a really good deal, when you look at the whole scheme of it. But we didn't get any concessions, right?
So it's interesting. So it's an interesting conversation. So we've got we're helping a couple agents through some situations similar to that, where it was a pass or fail, right?
Sure.
The home inspection came up with some material defects, and the buyer wanted to get out, which they had the right to do that.
Sure.
But now the seller well, I wasn't going to fix it, and we went, no, time out. You now have a material defect. It is now a known material defect. We either need to disclose it,
Right.
right,
Exactly.
or fix it.
Yeah.
And it took us the weekend to have this conversation with them, because they were like, well, no, I'm just going to put it back on the market. I said, no.
Right, yeah.
You now
Right.
have
You've discovered this, yeah.
You discovered it was a substantial material defect.
sure.
There's a structural issue, and either you're going to fix it, we're going to disclose it, or you're finding a new listing agent.
Totally.
Is
Yep.
where we ended up at.
Absolutely.
So you're starting to see, and they're starting to get back to our education thing. We now have to educate both the buyer and the seller. Okay, things are changing, right? I don't know who was Judah. Who was the was it Bob Dylan? Right? Times were changing.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
I babbled.
No, and these are tough conversations. These are not conversations like, I think that's the other thing about being a buyer's agent in this market is, we talk often in our brokerage about the number of offers that we're writing to the conversion rate of like actually getting people under contract. And that's the goal, right? Everybody's trying to get a house, and we're trying to sell the house. And it's so much more work for everyone, and I would say it's so much more work on, on all parties right now, just because of the way that the market is. It's not like it was in 2019 where you walked in, you wrote an offer, you wrote a decent offer, you got some concessions, everybody's happy, you look like a rock star, or at least some days. I don't know.
You've got the hair.
Yeah,
I've got
Josh looks
decent hair.
good. Josh
So-
looks
You
like
got
a
the
rock
hair,
star. We'll give him rock star over here.
Right.
Susan White,
Yeah.
give you some props right now.
Yeah.
She says you're biased. That's family, right?
That's family, yeah. That's
Okay.
That's Mama Bear.
Ma
So-
Dukes
Mama
is
Bear.
giving you props right now.
Yeah.
She says she loves you and happy birthday.
Oh, cool.
You're getting props from, so you got 5 firms watching, and we got a lot of questions coming in. Let's get to questions. Dan Pettit,
Oh,
ready for this one?
I'm afraid. Yes.
Have you seen anyone put in an offer on a home, a non-refundable deposit in the offer?
Not in retail. It's coming up in the commercial deals I'm working on.
Okay.
Actually, most of the commercial deals I'm working on are now having non-refundable DPs.
Okay. Josh, anything?
No non-refundables. In fact, it's something that I kind of discourage from my folks. Yeah.
How about this one? An anonymous realtor. I'm going to leave it at that. How many of the deals are you doing cash making up the difference for appraisals?
Great. Yeah, great question. Yeah, I would say I have very few that are willing to totally waive any appraisal gap. It's few and far between, and it would be people who have been looking for a while and they're finally just at their wits' end and they're like ready to just make the jump. I would say most people are willing, to waive a gap of some, monetary amount that we discuss, and it's really a lot of times based on the numbers that we're running and then looking at the list price to where the escalation is probably going to land. So it's more of a logic-based, yeah.
I've got a half a dozen sellers I was working with this week, buyers, working on this week, and every single one of them says, if we're going to put something in at that price, we want an appraisal contingency in it, that if it doesn't appraise, either we're going to renegotiate and get out. There's no gap conversation is happening.
That's a change.
That's what I meant by shift. This is literally happening over weeks.
Yes.
And the whole mentality is starting to happen. I mean, I had one on Sunday. We decided not to put an offer in because they asked me to do a CMA on it, and I did. And I go, I think it's a little high.
Yeah. Right.
And they said, we feel the same way. We're going to wait for something else.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's our role as a buyer's agent. I mean, it's to advocate for them both on the getting them into the deal, but also I think I always say I'm the worst sales guy because I talk so many people out of deals, and I think that's also what we're supposed to do.
So we're not in the sales business; we're in the relationship.
That's
business.
right. Yeah, that's right.
Do you see outer counties getting softer with gas prices going up?
I think they've been softer, yeah, for probably the past month or so. Because like I was saying, the one that I got under contract in Green, that's been actually a month and a half ago where we had the home sale contingency in there. And I do think, although it really depends, like Lake Monticello is still super hot.
Yeah.
The inventory there is still super low for the number of houses that are in that marketplace. So I think that will continue to and it's really location driven at that point.
Do you buy, I'll throw this to you and get out of your guys' way. Do you buy and Woody, we'll get to your comment.
Hey, Woody.
Fincham watching. Do
Thank
you
you,
buy
Woody.
the strategy that Waynesboro and the outer counties will be the first to get soft as gas prices go up, or you don't buy that?
I don't know that it's so gas price dependent, honestly. I think like Keith's saying, like this shift is happening probably because of a multitude of reasons. I think, obviously inflation in general and gas is one of those things. I do. I think if you look at the data from the Great Recession and if you look at data from the 60s forward, you can see the little blips on the radar and the tax assessed values. And I think that you certainly will see the outer rim, Fluvanna, Louisa, Green, Waynesboro, you'll see them kind of tilt down a little bit first.
So prior to COVID, real estate is 5 things. We talk about it all the time, right? Location, price, features, conditions, and the timing on it. Locations, let's say 2-3 months ago or weeks ago, it didn't matter where it was.
Sure, yeah.
Location matters. Micro locations within locations matter even more right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So as you said, Lake Monticello, right? You could say Fluvanna County be somewhere by the James River and maybe not have as much activity as Lake Monticello, even at the same price point. So you're starting to see us go back to, in that shift, back to more normalcy where location and micro location matters. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, and I think the best anecdote is just from the beginning of the year. I mean, I wrote an offer out in Crozet, and it's like, we always, as realtors, you look at comps based on neighborhood, right? And so that's the first kind of, or school, and so, but if you have a really tight comp set in a neighborhood, it's like, okay, this is probably going to be the best comp set for me to look at. And that's where I would assume the appraiser is going to look as well. And so it's one of those things where, there was one neighborhood we put an offer in, and it sold like it sold in a different neighborhood. It sold at a price that neighborhood wouldn't have supported. It was just the fact that it was in, that particular area, like it was in
the
Crozet.
school district to be specific.
Yeah. And so it was one of those things where, it kind of blew my mind a little bit because, we're seeing obviously prices in neighborhoods get blown out of the water. Like we're seeing high prices like we've never seen before. We're setting higher than where it was before the last recession. So, but I think that to me was one of those things where you're right. It's not just about the micro location though. Sometimes it can be about that macro location of the whole thing.
I mean, sometimes one street to another can make a huge difference.
Totally, yeah.
Huge difference. So I think to Woody's question, I think you're starting to see the other side of the mountain is not slowing down. I can tell you on my commercial work that I do, I help folks with land acquisition, sometimes on that. The big money's out there trying to develop more inventory.
Sure.
Oh boy, I used it.
You did.
More homes. Well, that's the word we're not supposed to use, by the way,
Yeah.
inventory, on that end of it. So, I don't see that slowing down. I just see micro locations doing really, really well, and some of the other locations being a little slower.
Sure. Yeah.
A lot of comments coming in. Jason Kirby, giving Josh White props. So glad to see Josh White on air. Such an outstanding agent. Jason Kirby, it's also Josh's birthday. So wish the man a 37th
Yeah.
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Woody Fincham's got a comment for you guys, and then Neil Williamson. Let's get to Woody first. Woody talks about the appraisal gap coverage, and he says this: with the market transitioning presently, waiving the appraisal could be a bad situation. I love hearing both of you discuss doing the right thing for your buyers, the mark of a true professional.
Thank you,
Woody
Woody.
Fincham.
So is Woody seeing the market shifting out there? I mean, that's a great that's a great question, and thank you for being one of our key sponsors, Woody.
Neil Williamson for Josh.
Yeah.
Question for Josh: does the downward trend mean less appreciation or actual decrease in value? Do you see a 300K house going to 250 anytime soon?
No, that's a great question. And I think one of the things that, I remember in January, we listened to a thing from Barry Habib, who, is big lender coach. And he was like, hey, we're going to see a slight, dip in appreciation this year. It's going to go back down to the normal appreciation, 5 to 6%, something like that. And, we looked at quarter one versus, quarter one 2021 to quarter one 2022, and there's still 30% appreciation or something in our marketplace. And I don't think we're going to see prices dip anytime soon, unfortunately. Soften maybe, but dip.
Yeah, balance,
right?
Yeah,
okay.
Normalcy, right?
Sure.
The double-digit appreciation year over year is great when you're selling and you're at the end of it. When you're buying, maybe not so much, but this normalcy of 3 to 6%. It's kind of what the region is, and back
Which is great.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is great.
Compounds.
Well, and they say, I forget what the article was that we read as a brokerage, but it was, the next 5 years we're looking at, that appreciation year over year for the next 5 years at least. So
what'll happen is the volume of everything is just going to slow down.
Right.
The volume of listings, the volume of sales, we're going to go back to the volume or the days on market are going to go up, which is back to some sort of normalcy. I've been meaning to ask you this question because you've been in the market since 2015.
Great bull market for you. You've been in the market for 7 years. It's been a bull market.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been strong. Yeah.
So what would you consider days on market that when we start transitioning from a seller's market to a buyer's market or a buyer's market to a seller's market? Is there like a magic? Over under, thank you.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If we have 5 days on market right now and we're seeing a price reduction after the weekend.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's just you're not giving the market enough time to actually respond to that listing, especially not if with kind of the ways that different agents market properties differently. And, so, 2 weeks has always been that thing. If something's sitting on the market right now in 2 weeks, then it really, at that point, the seller, in my opinion, is getting motivated because they're seeing like, oh man, and if they haven't taken a price reduction and everything around them feels like it's selling and the market's still really hot.
They feel pressure.
Look, I'm your buyer. The first question I'm going to ask you is, what's wrong with it?
Yeah,
scarlet
exactly.
letter.
Yeah, totally. Like is it stigmatized? Is there something wrong with it? Home inspection wise, is the location
Something's wrong with it. What's wrong with it? Josh, I like the way it looks on the pictures, but it's been on the market for 2 weeks. What's wrong with it?
Well, is today's 5 days on market actually 19 days on market with the 2 week coming soon? Is that why the price reductions are happening? Because the 2 weeks coming soon is more prioritized than ever before, or utilized than ever before?
So DOMs are only going to be once they go active.
Sure, but we're all seeing the homes on social before
Sure.
they go active. And we've talked about that many times this show. And we've also talked about the 2-week being way too long a window on this show before as well.
So this may be another effect, but I'm starting to see a lot less than 2 weeks. I'm starting to see like coming soon's on Mondays, going active on Friday, right?
That's more realistic.
That seems to be the flow.
Yeah.
The flow. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah. And the thing is, I think that in the long run, like it's like a target, right? It's a bullseye of the target. And if you're getting a ton of showings, this has always been our kind of strategy. If you're getting a ton of showings and you're not getting any offers, something's wrong. It's either the price, location, the condition. Those three things: price, location, condition. And if the bullseye, we gotta adjust the bullseye essentially at that point. And so I think, it's less about days on market and more about, okay, like that particular house that reduced the list price, I know that they had 17 showings because, the agent and I talked on the phone. And so it was one of those things where after 17 showings, if no one's made an offer,
So
something's wrong.
go back to communication, how important that is. That's
Totally.
a valuable piece of information.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I can call my buyer and say, hey, look, they've had 17 showings. No one's pulled the trigger. Everyone feels the same way we do. Like, that makes me feel really good as an agent. Like, there's a lot of times where you're like, I don't know if I gave the right advice or not, but on this one I did, so it's like,
So it's kind of like being a father, right?
Yeah.
You'll
He's a
find
father of 3. This
You'll-
man's in the Hall of Fame.
You'll find out when they're 36. You sit down and go, geez, did we make the right decisions? You're making the right decisions.
Well,
Trust me.
thanks.
Trust me on.
So.
Do you guys buy this comment? This is from Kevin Yancey in Waynesboro. He says, with the forecast of 12 to 24 months to tamper down inflation, do you guys expect a true shift from sellers to buyers market in the next 2 years?
I don't think under the classic terms that we would know 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It's a different market. I've been doing this long enough to know during the time of great unpleasantness, it was different. Prior to that was different. The core principles are the same and the fundamentals are the same, but every market's just enough different that you kind of have to adapt to it. I just think, the buyer pool is really what's reducing, as you said, Josh, right? The first-time home buyers are peeling off because they don't have the cash.
Right, yeah. They can't
Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, and I think too, I think if we got to I think it will still be a seller's market in 2 years because unless we get just some
We have no inventory.
plume of inventory, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think to that point, I mean, even if it was a little bit to the side of the sellers, that's still a much healthier market than where we are right now. So if we could just get a little more balanced, as Keith said earlier.
So what I was trying to get in my earlier question, based on my history being in this marketplace in this area, once we start knocking up on 60 days on market, that's when that shift starts happening. That's when this whole buyer-seller shift starts happening. We're nowhere near that. We're at 5 days, 14 days, right? That's on the median, right? Mm-hmm. If you take the average, it may be a little bit higher than that, 24, 25, maybe 30 days. Do you see it the same way? Once we start hitting a certain days on market, that whole buyer-seller mentality is made the complete shift?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I remember when I first started with Sasha, working kind of on the listing side, and we kind of had a template for when we would recommend price reductions based on, okay, if it's on the market for this long, based on the data that we're seeing, we would take a price reduction. I can't remember the days, but we were talking about this the other day where it was we're we don't really have to do that anymore. That has not been something that's been in our vocabulary for about 3 years now, really.
Well, it's changing. It went from 28 a month ago to 49. So that conversation is coming up.
Yeah, and I think it is. I think that there's going to be, and I think from my vantage point as a buyer's agent, it's just thinking about the leverage piece of it. It's thinking about being able to go in, run comps, look at the full picture and say, okay, we can get a more balanced deal for somebody. And whether that's in Greene or Fluvanna for now, maybe it will move into Albemarle and Charlottesville as things start to soften a little bit.
Are you relying on the digital curbside showings to try to
curb appeal?
Curb appeal, thank you.
Yeah.
To narrow down the number of, so if I'm looking at 15 houses as your buyer, are we having conversation before we actually go look at it? Let's try to narrow that 15 down to something 7 or 6 or something like that. Are you using those tools to do that?
I wish we were. I mean, because we don't really need to because the inventory has been so low. I mean, I had some folks in from Florida this past week, and I mean, basically in their price range, it was new construction and then kind of things that were kind of a smattering, and we boiled it down to 3 properties basically sitting at the conference table. So, I mean, as a buyer's agent, I will say we're showing far less. I mean, I'm showing far less properties than I showed 3 years ago to buyers overall. But because they're also, I would say buyers have gotten pickier too, because, let's face it, if you're going to spend all this cash, it's like I tell people, if you don't like this house and if you don't love this house, then why would you waive the appraisal gap? Why would you do these certain things?
Well, the buyer's also more sophisticated,
Totally.
and has more, I mean, to use your phrase, tools at their disposal. I mean, you can take some of these virtual tools on social media, and dude, I feel like I'm in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helped my wife and I, cross houses off our list in the past. More comments coming in for Josh. You're well liked. I can tell by the social media.
Well.
This guy's well liked, and it's his birthday, guys. For all those that are watching, upper price point, Josh, is it getting softer now?
It's a great question. I mean, we have had more bidding wars in the million range. And it used to be the luxury market was around $700,000 in Charlottesville.
We had an agent last month in that chair right there say $1 million is not the luxury market anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I would not disagree with that at all. And so, at 1.2, I mean, I saw a place this week where I was like, this should not be at a $2 million price point, but it makes sense based on what's selling. So I don't think it's softening yet.
No, and it's just, each, much like the micro locations, the price points have their own little life to them, and the entry level buyer or the housing affordability buyer on the beginning of it unfortunately has a super limited ability.
Sure.
The persons or buyers at that level have a little bit more cash and they can be a little bit more flexible. What amazes me is in Weston Albemarle you can't touch anything with the new construction. I used to say with a 1 in front of it. Now it's 1.5, 1.2. It's just, the prices are going up, and we're working on a round table of custom builders and production builders on that end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But with your buyers, I know what we're seeing, but are you seeing a little bit more cash? I'm not talking about 100% cash buyers,
Sure, yeah.
But are you seeing more folks putting more DP down payments down? Are you seeing that starting to change a little bit?
Oh yeah, and I think people have done that as part of the way to be competitive. We talk about the tools in the tool belt. Trying to do more down payment. If you can't pay full cash, but you can do 40% down or something, obviously, like that says to the seller, hey,
significant.
I'm super motivated.
Yeah. It also helps offset this 5%, right?
Totally.
So if I have the ability to put some cash down 2 months ago, why would I use my cash when it was 3%? That's free money, right? Now it's 5, maybe working
Totally.
on
Are your
6.
clients buying points?
Yeah, I have had some buy points. And again, just to try to get it a little bit more reasonable, which again, I mean, we weren't seeing that several years ago. That was kind of like, why would you do that? So,
Are your clients using ARMs?
I just wrote it down.
ARMs, yeah. So I think, we still work with a significant number of folks that are coming in for resident, programs, et cetera. And I think for those folks, that's a great tool because especially if they're going to be leaving here. So those are the clients that a lot of times I see using the ARMs. But I think that
5 years?
5, 10, that kind of idea, 7, or the 7, I guess. It's if they know they're only going to be here for 4 years or something. Yeah.
7 to 10s work.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure 3 and 5s.
5 would work for a resident.
Yeah, but the question is what's the market in 5 years from now? So I'd do a 10. I would suggest a 10 one.
Oh,
if
sure.
You can,
if you're
can
going
afford
to,
it.
especially if you're going to hang on to it as
Well,
and try to-
it's
yeah.
The 10's not that much. I mean, what's the savings on the 10 versus the 30 fix?
it's
what are we talking like?
it's a quarter point,
Yeah, I
was gonna
something
say,
like
that's what
that.
I'm saying.
Significant.
But you want, in my opinion, you want to do that because if the market starts changing in 5 years and you need to sell it, and let's assume we've done this complete flip to
Sure.
where we are now. Now you got to sell something.
Right.
Where if I've got a 10 and 1, it becomes a situation I can hang on to it, I can lease it, I can
Rent
do
it out,
something.
yeah.
At least I got an additional 5-year runway
Sure.
for an extra. That's how I'm advising
Yeah.
our clients, because you've got to, if it's an extra quarter point, you can absorb that, going through, but
Yep.
don't. Maybe this is me living through the time of great unpleasantness coming back.
Yeah.
Do you see, so from Waynesboro here, Kevin, good question. Will you see a price shift to attract first-time home buyers into this market? I mean, the problem I see with that is, and you guys are the pros, the dirt is so damn expensive around here
Yeah.
that the folks building this inventory are forced into a price point. There's not a lot of flexibility here on price, and with cost of goods being so volatile and unpredictable. I mean, is that the right read here?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to several custom builders who, if they could hit the 300 to 500 to 300 to 600,000 for the house, not the land, for the house, that market is where that's where we need it. But they they just can't because of the commodity, costs, and because of the lumber and all the things. And labor's gone up, and I had a good conversation with a renovator last week, and he was like, these folks are skilled laborers who needed a jump in their pay after COVID, and he's like, and we're willing to give that to them, and it's like, it's just like, you want to get paid well for what you're doing, and I thought it was a great ethics conversation of like, yeah, these folks they're in need of a better paycheck, and so we've got to honor that, and so some of this stuff's not coming down.
Well, we had the chairman of Albemarle County Board of Supervisors on Friday, Donna Price, sitting in that chair, and we were having this conversation. New construction, nationwide is about 25% of it's red tape, right? Mm-hmm. And I told the story that we were trying to do something, a subdivision, frankly, out in the surrounding county that ended up with an additional $500,000 worth of cost to it because one person at the county decided that's what was going to happen, and we had no rule or no ability to change that.
Sure.
Well, ultimately, those homes are going to cost that much more expensive because it's going to trickle down. But I think the real question is at what price point is housing affordability? Right. So what would you consider that price point to be?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I mean, what was the median 3 years ago? 330, 320, something like that. Now it's at what, 365, 370? Last time I looked, it's been since the beginning of the year. So, I mean, below the median, but still in the three, with something with a 3 in front of it is very tough for some folks. And I would say for a good portion of the marketplace, I mean, we have some leads in our car right now that are, and there's nothing for 100, with a 1 in front of it that would be, that you're not going to have to dump some money into on the front end.
So as you know, I chair an affordable housing, the Piedmont Community Land Trust.
Same with the twos.
Same with the twos.
That's what I was just about to get to. So, we're trying to sell new construction at $243,750. The only way that's going to work is we had subsidies. We've brought the county or brought the developer and the builder in, and we made all that magic happen. And that's a rarity, right? But to me, housing affordability should be somewhere in the 2 to 250 range, and you can't do that in new construction unless you do something like we're doing at the Land Trust. I just don't see it.
Which is an awesome program, by the way.
Thank you.
We have a deal going with them, and it's fantastic right now.
We'll talk about it after the show.
Do you guys see? How do you see the city evolving with its demo of home ownership? I mean, clearly the writing is saying it's going to be 10.2 square miles for super wealthy here. I mean, what was the median income that just came out? You put that on Facebook. Was it like 111,000?
It's 111,000.
A house.
That's 111,000 some dollars. Neil will correct me when I'm wrong, but that's, to be clear, that is the what they call the HUD income limits, right? So this is established by HUD to determine, for programs like the Piedmont Community Land Trust or Habitat or anything like that. And the interesting thing about that, it covers all the it's 5 jurisdictions. Louisiana's not part of it. So Fluvanna County's 111, Greene is 111, Albemarle's 111 on that end of it. Up to a certain degree, from a housing affordability perspective, it actually helps us out a little bit because of the incomes increase a little bit. One of the struggles that we have is that you may meet the income limits, but not qualify for the loan. So this
Right.
will help us with that.
Good.
UVA's influence in this, Josh. What do you want to see?
It's a great question. I would definitely say, any small college town. Yeah, I think Madison, Wisconsin is a good example. Those kind of places where you see the university start buying. I went to James Madison undergrad, go Dukes, and Harrisonburg, same way. Obviously on a little smaller scale, but JMU's bought up a lot of Main Street over the years from the time that I graduated till now. It's changed a lot, and so I think. Obviously it makes land more expensive in the city and the inner ring of the county, and I think that just, logically just pushes some more pressure on our residential market too. So,
Our daughter is a graduate of JMU. She got a master's in education. Is that
Oh.
you got a master's in education?
No, I was a history guy there, and then did masters at NC State. So,
Got it. And when she graduated some years ago, I remember having a conversation with some of the folks at the university at the executive level, and they really want to turn JMU into like an Ohio State. They really are trying to turn that into like the largest. I don't know if they'll be successful or not,
Right.
but that's their mentality.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah.
Tax assessments coming up with your clients?
Yes, they are. In fact, my wife and I did the calculations on ours. Ours went up 11%.
Are you in the city?
No, so we're actually in the county. We're in
Okay.
Key West
Okay.
area, and so ours went
a
up
great
11,
spot.
11%. Yeah, we love it. It's a great little spot. But
And we'll tell you mine went down.
did it?
Yeah,
Oh man,
mine went down.
Yeah.
Flavanna County.
Flavanna
Just saying.
County.
Just saying.
Well, and I think so. We always as part of our comps, we run like a tax assessed test analysis and try to figure out how much below or above are things selling above the tax assessment. And so sometimes it's not useful at all because the data is so skewed. Or for example, I went into a house over the weekend. It was just totally renovated, so it hasn't been updated. That tax assessment value is not helpful. So it really is dependent on the property, I would say, if it's useful or not.
So how much? I think we're all agreeing that the market is starting a shift. It's probably anemic, but there's a shift going on. How much is features and conditions now popping up in your conversations?
Features and conditions.
Last couple of weeks, right?
Yeah.
How important are features and how important are conditions?
Yeah, sure. So, I have some folks considering an offer on a property, and they would be cash. They'd be sight unseen buyers, and they're like, how old's the roof? How old's the HVAC? Those are big questions because, I call it the triumvirate. So roof, HVAC, and then plumbing or electrical. Those are your three big things that you want to look at because those are the things that are cost you money right away.
Sure.
Features-wise, I think we're still having the same conversations that we had a lot, from COVID. People still want privacy.
Yeah.
They still want outdoor space. I think the bigger lots have actually sold better from people want a little bit of space. And then more segmented houses. More compartmentalized space. People still like an open concept on their first level, but I'm talking about it. I think it's a hallmark of real estate. As a buyer's agent, you just are going to talk about features, regardless.
Yeah, but a month ago or 2 months ago, features maybe.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But conditions, people just didn't care.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So
I
is
think
that
you're right.
starting to change? a
Yeah,
little
that's
bit?
definitely starting to change. And I think when people start to say, well, maybe we have a little more leverage, maybe we would be able to consider these things a little bit more. Like there's a giant tree in the backyard that needs to be pruned,
Yeah, yeah.
which that wasn't even on the radar.
Yeah. So that's a good sign. So we're having a conversation. Half of the folks I'm showing homes to right now are all looking for multi-generational. Are you seeing any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've seen definitely more multi-generational family properties. Well, in fact, I just sold one that has like a little basement apartment in it, and they're going to use it for the teenager, with the family. So, yeah.
A lot of stuff coming in here. How about the next crozet?
Mm.
Which area is going to pop here? Next crozet waiting to happen.
It's a great question. That's a great question. Keith, what are your thoughts on
No.
that? I'm trying to pass the buck on that one.
Yeah, I believe there's about a couple of hundred hours of tape of me.
Yeah,
Have
Zion's
you-
Crossroads.
Zion's Crossroads.
Yeah, Zion's
Is
Crossroads.
that what you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think Southern Albemarle has a lot of untapped potential in the next 10 years.
So you're saying Scottsville?
Scottsville, North Garden, that
Yeah.
whole down 29
Well,
corridor.
and I know
on Lynchburg.
you're tight with him. Bailiff just bought all Hertz stuff.
Yeah.
All his property. So I would expect that you would see Scottsville prioritized even more. Frank and Charlie and Southern do it right over there.
Oh yeah, they're great guys.
Yeah, so you'll see that going out that way. The struggle out there.
You saw that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the struggle out there though is the water and sewer. No,
Yeah,
Scottsville,
infrastructure. Yeah.
Scottsville town proper, not so much.
Right.
But the connector, the 29
Totally.
area between what you said, North Garden,
Yeah.
right? You know, there's a lack of water and sewer, so you know that there's be a little bit of struggle as far as density goes.
Yeah.
On that end of it, but as far as transportation goes, hop on 29.
I was going to say,
you're
you've
in.
got some good veins going down there. And also, if you look at the map of Charlottesville and how it's developed, obviously it makes sense that things kind of fan north. But, I mean, that's really the untapped portions of the county.
So transportation seems to work a little bit. Depending on which side of the line you are, if you're in Nelson County side of it, schools are losing kids, so there's room in schools, right? And internet is not an issue. The issue will be your water and sewer.
Yeah.
You know, other than say some small subdivisions or what Frank and Southern Development is doing in Scottsville, where there's an existing infrastructure from that perspective. That'll be the big hang up at that point.
Totally. When I think broadband access was a huge detriment to that area for so long, and I think obviously that's changing, leaps and bounds right now. So.
Hats off to Nelson County, do it all the time. They got in front of this 12 years ago, beat everybody to the punch, and they're doing it. The reason I think Zion's Crossroads will be, it checks all the boxes we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
It has water, it will have water. It has the road infrastructure. Schools, maybe not, that might need a little help on that end of it. It has the health care, right, in Zion's Crossroads. It has UVA and Martha Jefferson. I may or may not go there regularly. But, so that's why I think it's going to happen.
Cool.
How about take on Buckingham?
I've got a lot under contract in Buckingham right now. Done a few things down there. I think again it goes back to infrastructure and also like what's drawing people to these specific areas as well. I think it's like the conversation about Lake Monticello that I have with a lot of buyers is you're still within striking distance of shopping and healthcare and those sorts of things. You're 20, 25 minutes to town. And again, you can get designs, you can get to short pump pretty well. As you go further south and you get a little bit more isolated from things. And so this was something I talked with this buyer about this land. For her it makes sense. She's getting the privacy that she wants. She's still within striking distance of Charlottesville, as close as she wants to be. And so, yeah.
So I make it from my house to the studio in 20 minutes.
Awesome.
And from Lake Monticello to here.
With the Suttons and with Frank Bailiff in Scottsville, that's going to blow up. The Suttons have a lot of skin in the game down there, and now Frank has a lot of skin in the game down there.
Well, go back to our micro locations, right? So that micro location is going to do well because it checks all the boxes,
Mm-hmm.
right? It has all the requirements to do that. I don't know where affordability will be. I don't know where pricing is going to be. My suspicion is it'll be closer to the numbers that we want it to be because of land acquisition and development costs on that end of it. But the connector between, I don't think will do so well. I think you'll see like one-offs and stuff like that, but you're not going to see what Frank and the Suttons are doing out in Scottsville.
Sure.
I just don't see it.
Keaton Ray giving Josh props, says you're the best. You got a lot of homies, Josh, out here in social media world giving you props. Joy Williams-Long, Zoya Claus, Chelsea Sibold, Ali, I'm going to butcher your last name, Ali, Copa Greco. Giving you some props. It's the man's birthday, so when you see him around town, make sure you tell him happy birthday and embarrass him a little bit. You're crushing Real Talk right now. You're absolutely crushing Real Talk.
I almost wore the same shirt today.
Back 6 months of the year, Josh.
There you go.
What's the crystal ball say for the rest of the year for you and the business?
Yeah, it's a great question. As Keith has brought up, and I think this is a great series to go through, I think, we are going to continue to see this shift happen. I think it's still going to be a seller's market. I think it's still a great time for people to sell their homes. I think it's still going to be hard for buyers to find homes. I think what Keith meant or mentioned earlier, which I think is a great conversation to have as well, is just, there might not be 20 bids on a property. There could be 2, but they're still very aggressive and very strong bids because people are still very interested in purchasing right now, despite the rates. So,
do you remember the conversation of a listing agent calling you up and say, "Hey, Josh, you going to bring me an offer?"
Right.
Right.
Is that you?
When was the last
trying
time?
to kind of push.
When was the last time that conversation
I don't think
happened?
he's ever had it. That you got it in 2015.
Yeah, I
Was
think
it slow
2000.
then?
There was some, like I would say 17, 18, there was definitely those calls where people were starting to get, especially if it had been on the market for a while, you would get, they were so excited you get a showing in and then,
Hey, tell me about the show.
tell me about how to go, what are your buyers like, those sorts of things. And then,
Yeah, so I think that's coming again. I think it's a little bit of time out. But again, the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you is now's the time to set it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now's the time to prep our clients, both buy and sell in the community as a whole, that, I think this pendulum is starting to swing. It's not at the bottom. It's not going the other way
Right.
anytime
Yeah.
soon, but the dynamics are changing by the minute.
I think patience is a great virtue in this market too. I think, having those conversations to be able to say to clients, hey, maybe the best strategy right now is to be a little patient on this particular property, see how it goes, and then we're poised and ready to go, if it makes it through the weekend, those kind of things. Because I think sometimes, it's, I always joke with my clients, I tell them, you're going to get into a house and you're going to be ready to put the offer in like that moment. But it's like, go have a cup of coffee, go drink a glass of wine, relax for a minute, really get your head wrapped around it, and then let's chat. We can chat in 2 hours, but you got to take that step. So,
Woody Fincham, you're going to love this comment. Pour that man a birthday shot. Woody Fincham over here.
We may or may not have done that before.
That's what I let him know. I let him know that. Johnny Williamson, Josh, happy birthday, brother. From Johnny Williamson. Chelsea Sibold, happy birthday, Josh. We are so proud of you. It's the man's 37th birthday. Let's give him some happy birthday wishes. This is a good question from Grayson. And Grayson routinely comments on the show, he and his family looking to purchase, but the price point for the city of Charlottesville is so high.
sure.
They're in the first-time home buyer market, and they're going to renew their lease. So he wants your take on the rental market for the next year to 2 years.
Yeah, great question. Rental market will continue to stay high. I mean, I know I've had several conversations with folks who are clients who are landlords as well, and they're asking, should they raise rent? Are they able to raise rent? And it's like, absolutely. Unfortunately, the answer is yes. Like they can right now because the market is going to sustain that. So that's unfortunate news for somebody who's renting. I've had some friends from church and otherwise that have talked about, raising rent even like $100, $200 a month, which is significant, in a household income. I think the other flip side of the coin, and Jerry, you kind of alluded to this, is, rent is 100% interest rate.
Yeah.
So
Explain that. Somebody asked me over the weekend to explain that. See if
Yeah,
you
I mean,
do a better job.
I want to know how you
yeah, I mean, I'm a logic guy, I'm not a math guy, I'm a history, my sister got all the math and science genes
That's
in her
10,
family.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
I'm
right,
good.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
good.
That's
I'm
exactly
good.
I
I'm
use
good.
my toes, but I won't take my shoes off in here. But this idea is basically, if you're paying somebody else's mortgage, that's the big thing. It's like you could be paying your own mortgage for cheaper than you're paying someone else's mortgage. We'll just keep it really simple. And so, and that's kind of the approach. But in these folks' situation, if there's not something in your price point that you're pre-qualified for, then what are you going to do? What's the next step?
So the conversation I had was with my daughter and my son-in-law. So my son-in-law's an anesthesiologist out in Seattle, pretty smart guy.
Very smart guy.
My daughter's super smart, and she literally asked me the same question. What I'm about to ask you: is there a bubble? Is it going to pop? Right. This is the question we get asked the most
all the time.
And then the follow-up question is, because, Daddy, did we miss the market? And I went, absolutely not. So how would you answer that question?
Yeah, no, I don't. And we talk a lot about this. And I have a great mentor in Sasha. I can't sing her praises enough.
Amen.
I wouldn't be in this spot if it
Without
weren't
doubt.
for her. So, and we talk a lot about this, and we talk a lot about buyer advocacy and training and giving people good data. And I think the data just doesn't point to something just all of a sudden falling out from underneath of us, in this market. If anything, again, we're looking at appreciation for the next several years. And it's still a smart idea to invest in real estate, even though the rates are higher than they were. So, the answer is no. And I think there's enough good articles you can read about it.
So great. Thank you for saying that. What kind of reading do you do every morning? Because I bet you do a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm a voracious reader. I read all kinds of stuff. So I think the biggest thing is I follow like The Economist, Wall Street Journal. I do a lot of reading online through social media, but also just I think being willing to have conversations with people who are in the middle of these things. Like for example, we met with a renovator last week. We're looking at doing an addition on our house, which is a story for a different day. And
What was the timeline on that?
Oh, next year at some point, maybe if we're lucky.
So here's my advice on that: whatever you think it's going to cost, double it.
Yeah, and that's what we're finding out. But I think picking people's
The
brains.
remodelers don't even know.
Yeah,
They have no idea.
Yeah.
Because they don't know when they're going to get the windows, the cogs coming in to the job site. We represent the remodelers.
Yeah.
I feel for them. I'm empathetic for them.
I had somebody ask me the other day, well, don't you miss building houses? I said, no.
No.
Yeah.
Timeline. Hey, I ordered golf clubs for my birthday. I had never gotten fitted for golf clubs. Always wanted to. Went and got fitted. They're like, and I ordered them with a past client, great guy, and he's like, Josh, they will ship from China in June the 9th. And it's like, and this, I ordered them back in February,
Which year?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay.
Ceiling tiles for our tenant on the second floor here, months. It's been 2.5 months for ceiling tiles. Put that in perspective.
Yeah.
I'm going to other locations and getting used tiles to keep tenants happy in this building.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be doing that. Just crowdsourcing. But and also just, I think keeping up with, we have, webinars, like I mentioned Barry Habib earlier, like things through lenders. I think keeping up with what's happening. I think paying attention to what's happening with the stock market, with loans. I think the whole business world interacts, very closely now. So
Jerry and I have this conversation back and forth on a regular basis. Your buyers, do they mostly worry about what their monthly payment's going to be or what the interest rates are going to be?
Depends on the price point.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say monthly payment's still the main thing for most people who are in the median price point. Yeah, and then to Jerry's point, I would say folks who are thinking about this as a long-term holding. But there again, we get into these questions of these are the folks who a lot of times are going to have the cash who can put a bigger down payment down, and so they're savvy about the rate and how it's going to affect them in the long run.
So I just called you. You're going to represent me to buy.
Sure.
What's the 3 things you're going to tell me?
3 things I'm going to tell you. So I think the first thing is it's still a good time to buy. Regardless of the rate, if you can afford it, and again, get you connected with a good lender who's going to guide you through the process. And then we're going to take our time. We're going to be patient, like I said earlier. We're going to make sure it's the best fit for you. Because if it's not an investment, it's partly an emotional decision. We make decisions based on emotion. Emotion equals motion is what Keller Williams likes to say. So it's one of those things where we've got to make sure it's the right fit for you and your family. That's really number 2. And then number 3, I'm going to be Debbie Downer a little bit because the market is hard on buyers right now. And I always joke with them. I'm like, hey, I feel like I'm a broken record, and I'm saying, we're going to maybe lose some bids before we get one.
It's funny you should say that. I was in a meeting with some folks from UVA last week, and they, we went through the conversation that I normally handle buyers. Yona normally handles the list there.
Sure.
And she goes, "Oh my God, it must be great to be a buyer's agent right now." And I went, "Right, you're kidding me, right?"
Yeah.
People don't know from the outside.
Yeah. I said, so let me get this straight. So you want me? It's being great to deal with folks that are constantly disappointed they didn't get it.
Yeah.
A follow-up to that, it's something that I found is there's no statistical data to provide this, but it seems for me, a buyer that lost 2 or 3 homes, but they end up with the last home, they almost inevitably say, "Oh my God, I love this home more than I love the first one."
Yeah, totally.
Do you see that happening?
Yeah, absolutely. Almost to a person,
Why is that, you think?
It's a journey. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like we were talking about with education. It's a journey, and I think things work out for a reason. I'm a big believer of that. So I think we got to do the work. We got to put in the time, and it'll work out the way it's supposed to. So
Is this going to be your best year yet, sales-wise?
I don't know.
About volume-wise versus actual transaction-wise.
Yeah, probably volume. Yeah, it will be close. I would say 2019 was tough to beat for me. The market
Really? Versus 2021?
versus 2021.
21 was not better than 19?
No, and,
Really?
and I think the reason why was so much was shifting at the beginning of 2021 with the bidding wars and with the the things of just and it was so much more time, so many more conversations. So I would say I'm working harder than I've ever worked before in real estate, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. But as far as the trajectory of sales. For me, I'll tell you honestly, it's a relation, like you said, it's a relationship piece. I mean, if I'm selling what I want to sell for my family, and I'm able to build relationships and welcome people to this awesome little town, then
Relationships matter. Trusted advisor. If you're transactional, not relational, you're not going to be doing this for 35 years or more.
Right.
So you're doing all the right things.
What percentage of your business, you've been in the business for 7 years, what percentage in that 7-year period is first-time home buyers? And then what percentage is first-time home buyers now?
yeah.
So over the 7 years versus now.
Yeah, well, when you first start, when you're young, in the business, and you tend to be grabbing people who are first-time home buyers. So I would say, my first couple years, it was just basically friends, from church, and they're all first-time home buyers. So it was probably 90% of my business. Now it might be 15% of my business. Just because, again, you start to kind of move up with your peers, and you start to sell to, to those folks, and then,
Sure.
Yep.
He's great, man.
You
killed this.
This is great.
You're a natural.
We've been trying to set this up for some time.
Josh, you crushed this.
Sometime.
You really did.
And he has the misfortune of sitting at the same board table as I do.
Oh, no, not a misfortune.
With Carr. So thank you for all your service on Carr. And
You would have been a great real estate professional, broker, agent, teacher. I mean, you could have done anything.
Well,
Seriously, dude, you're so likable.
Well,
So tell me, teacher, real estate agent. What do you most enjoy about being a real estate agent?
yeah, I really, honestly, it's getting to know the families and the
You're a people person.
Yeah, it's just it keeps me going. It keeps me alive. I mean, when you have a rough week, you lose a bit more. It's like the person who's like super grateful. Yeah, I mean, for example, I have a client right now. The deal doesn't matter at all. The price point doesn't matter. She's so delighted. This is like a dream of hers to build a house. And so to be able to see this come together, and it was a lot. Like the first offer we put in, they had already accepted another offer before we even got to the table. And so she was like super bummed. We got back. It fell apart. The first one fell apart on financing, which is, was a blessing. And then here we are, and she couldn't be happier. And so I think...
So that goes back to my point, right? So it took this process, this genesis of growing, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately she got what you want. I know you well enough to say this. You put 1,010% in.
Oh, for sure.
If it's $100,000 or $1 or $100 million deal, and that's why you'll be successful.
Well, thanks, Keith. Yeah, you guys are gracious to have me on. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. How about closing thoughts for the viewers and listeners?
Closing thoughts. Just in general or on real estate?
Anything you want to do. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like you have a lot of perspective to offer here.
Yeah, no.
We talk about hair a lot. You can do that if you
Hair,
like.
he's got great hair.
Yeah.
We can follow you around if you want to all week here.
Yeah, that's
Giving
right.
you compliments all day if you'd like.
Yeah, thanks, you
Josh,
guys.
you were great. Josh, you were great. Josh, you were great.
No, I don't- that
isn't
would-
that part of your birthday requirement
That's
for a
right.
week?
Yeah, that's
what I thought.
actually in the
That's what I
contract.
thought.
Yeah, that's right. No, I would just
Hold
say...
on, we had a contract? I didn't know
yeah,
that.
I didn't know that what y'all were getting me to sign at the beginning, but anyways, I didn't read over it. No,
Don't
closing-
worry about it. Everything will be okay.
Yeah, hopefully I get a free T-shirt at least. Or
Sure, whatever.
No,
Whatever.
no, I don't really have much to say. I mean, other than, again, great conversation. Always interested to talk about real estate, and I think it's a great way to build wealth. And it's something that I think the biggest thing is about home. Like and place. And my wife's an architect. We talk a lot about place. And, your home is really where all your memories are made. Where conversations important and otherwise are had. A lot of not important ones, a lot of fun ones too. But anyways, just have fun out there, and hopefully come on again.
No,
So
you're always welcome, my friend.
thanks,
always
man.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
We got to have to bring Brittany on. That's who I was hoping
Yeah,
to get.
she's
but
awesome.
But
She's the
in middle
energy.
Of,
She's the high energy.
She's in the middle of doing some home inspection. That's the reason she couldn't join us today.
Yeah.
Josh White, guys, crushed it. Keith Smith, you crushed it.
Thank you, sir. You did also, and poor Judah over there is doing a great job.
Judah
I see that mouse flying around. So
Hey,
he must be
director,
doing
keeping
work.
us on point, guys. Real Talk on a Monday. I Love CVille show up in 1 hour. This show presented by
Oh God, a whole litany of folks. Closure Title and Ally Property Management is the key sponsor for today. And please take a look at the bottom of the email and on the screens over here.
And go to realtalkwithkeithsmith.com.
.com.
guys.
There you go.
That's what I was going
He'll keep me straight.
Real
What did he
Talk
say?
with Keith
It's only been
Smith.com.
three.
You do a great job.
Yeah, 3 months, and he's got. I'm constantly learning from him.
That's a
Constantly
great
learning.
job. So join us, guys, in 1 hour, and thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good morning. Take care. Josh, you go with me. Seriously.
No.
Tell us when the mic's on.